to another episode of SDRescue. I am joined today by Grayson Fulbright. As usual, we've become quite regular, and we have a doozy of an email to go through today. But before we jump in, I'm going to remind you, we would love to dissect and rewrite your emails, whether they're emails you receive or emails that you're sending. So connect with Grace and I on LinkedIn and follow the SD Revolution page on LinkedIn and get us those emails. We would really love it. Grayson, how are you?
I am doing well. Just for everyone that doesn't know me, I'm currently based in Da Nang, Vietnam. So it's early night here for me, but I'm excited. I'm ready to dive into another email today.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever mentioned that in the show, but Grayson stays up late to hop on live with us here. So here we go. Gonna pull up the email. We're gonna jump right into it, and let me tell you, we are gonna get reading, and it's gonna take me a minute. So bear with me, everyone. Okay. Hey, Austin. I thought I'd drop you a line because my company is righting the wrongs of a crazy, convoluted industry at a time when we can all use a little community support. We're on a mission to tame your tech monsters, destroy your digital demons, and slay your cyber scoundrels. We're changing the world one client at a time by taking the magical mysticism, bloated timelines, and unreasonable costs out of digital with good old ingenuity and resourcefulness. Let us guess. Choose one. You've been wrestling a beast of a website project that's been dragging on since the beginning of time, and it seems like no one can give you any straight answers. We're the kings of straight answers, without the need to start over or undo all the progress you have made. Oh, scrolled way too fast. A little zealous. You just want to know what the hell is happening. You're not a nerd, you don't want to be a nerd, but you're smart. Someone should be able to explain what the hell is going on with your digital landscape to you without having to get a degree in technology. We translate seamlessly between business executive and nerdy digital geniuses. You just want things to work. Whether your website isn't performing up to standards, your internal team isn't using the tool stack they have, or you have marketing software, or your marketing software is the biggest disappointment this century, you want a solution, not another service to add an already astronomical monthly subscription list. We use your existing architecture and apply validated process to find optimization and efficiency opportunities. We can tame any of your programming punks or networking nightmares at Newarks. We leverage your existing technical resources to evolve the most efficient, effective, and cost-conscious digital solution. We're here to cut through the BS surrounding tech, digital media, e-commerce, and website development, and would love to give you a hand. Schedule a quick chat with us. See if you like us. We'll see if we click. That's it. No lengthy pitch deck. No automated cookie cutter SaaS. No sales pitch. Thanks for your time. Whew. Okay. There was one follow-up email. Much more abridged. Hey there. Just thought I'd check in on my previous email one more time before I leave you alone forever. Here's a llama with sunglasses to thank you for your time. All right. I'm going to actually have to zoom out for this one so we can get it in there. There's a lot to take apart here, but I'll turn it over with Grayson just for this because I just read a lot, so I'm tired of hearing from me.
Yes. You just read a whole page, so I'll get started with this. And I think to kind of recap the big problems that I'm seeing here. One, like we've talked about this before with a lot of the emails we review, but it's assumption central. So many assumptions used in so many ways. And like we talk about, every additional thing that you say and every additional assumption you make decreases the chance that they're going to continue reading and that they're going to actually follow through or trust you. I think the second piece that is very obvious here is there's so much information. And I think we actually touched on this on a previous episode about kind of using too many angles, about trying to basically front load your first few emails into kind of every use case, every pain point that you might hit on. And, in reality, one might work, two might work. But even if someone's qualified and interested in your service, an email of this length is discouraging. It doesn't motivate people to continue reading, and it also puts into question, do they really know enough about me and enough about what they're doing if they're putting so much information into an email and expecting me to read it? I think another thing that we need to point out here that I'll actually let Austin touch on this a little bit, but the one call out positive that I wanted to make in this email is I do love the wording and the terminology that they use throughout the email. While it is long, while there are a lot of assumptions, I like the personality that I see behind the person writing this. Though I don't think that it should have been this long and with this many assumptions. Austin, what do you think?
Yes. So, barring any more technical difficulties and interruptions, my opinions are this: that, so first of all, I think you're right. There is a good amount of personality here, which, if this is your personality, definitely use it. Everyone should, when you look at email customization, we typically talk about customizing to the prospect, but I think what is neglected a lot is customizing what you're saying to yourself. I think we read a lot of tips online and we read a lot of good templates, or we read something that one of our coworkers has written and we think, oh, that's good, and we use it and it gets distributed. But if you can keep an email unique to you, that's something that can connect to somebody. I mean, sure, you can offend someone too. I'm pretty conservative when it comes to writing, like with expletives and stuff like that. So I don't. That's not something that's in my style. I don't curse, so I don't write that way. But for other people that do, that's their style. So like you said, there is good style here. Another good that I like is the 3 bold problems. What I like about them is they're well articulated. If you have one of those problems, then you as a buyer will resonate with them. I think, could you have said it in a more concise way? Sure, in some of them. I think there's a lot of good things here. There's just too much, right? I mean, too much of anything becomes a vice, right? Too much of any virtue becomes a vice. So there's the call to action actually is pretty cool, as far as like, schedule a quick chat with us, and it's hyperlinked to their Calendly or whatever tool that is. Another one is like the panache in see if you like us, we'll see if we click, that's it. No lengthy pitch deck, no automated cookie cutter SaaS, no sales pitch. Everyone knows like the tried and true like SDR process, or like filling out one of those contact us forms. And so putting that on its head, I think helps the call to action a lot. So there's a lot of good things here. Obviously there's too much stuff, but I mean, if you took this email apart and made it 3 emails and had the same style, I really think it could be a nice sequence, and have different follow-ups and threaded things in between. Like, you could have a 5 or 6 email sequence based off this one email, have a different email for each of the problems, and it could actually be pretty nice.
Yeah, I was just about to say that actually. I do think, like, you touched on the fact that, it's long, yes, but the problems he presents are pretty well articulated. And I think if he would just take one bullet point and use that as the sole topic of the email, I think that it'd be a lot more banger than it is now. I think another thing to keep in mind, we didn't go through the color code here in the screen share, but much of the email from start to finish starts with a we or we're, and it's just constant kind of, it's almost like narrating, bragging about yourself. They talk about something relevant to the prospect and then back up and say, we're on a mission to blank, and then they start talking about other stuff and say, we're changing the world. And then in each of those problems, right, they do well of painting kind of the picture of what people experience. But then at the end of every one of those problems, they have a generic like, oh, well, we're the best and can just completely make everything okay here, which, kind of going back to some previous topics we discussed with sales process, I think buyers kind of are on edge and feel a little kind of danger there. Like, whoa. Like he's already making all of these assumptions. He's already so just pompous about like what they think they can provide to me. And they haven't even discussed with me. They haven't even met me. So it's kind of a confidence and trust breaker, I think, when you just continuously from beginning to end, just talk about yourself, talk about yourself, talk about yourself. I think the final tip I would leave for this email is I would choose one spot or one section in the email to make your pitch about yourself and what you do, and leave it at that. Like if you can't refine your value proposition or refine how you're relevant to a specific recipient in 1 or 2 sentences, just right there, it's going to be really hard to drive results in general. And that would be my kind of last feedback on this good but very long email.
Yeah, and I think so you made a good point there, is that when you ask a rhetorical question, or because I think they answered a rhetorical question once or twice in this email, or at least it wasn't a rhetorical question, but like you said, they would say, hey, are you tired of blank, of some stereotype? Well, we're the opposite, right? I think you save that for the meeting. I think that when you say it, I'm a big fan of under promise and over deliver, like just setting proper expectations. And I think what you do is when you promise you're different, oftentimes people that lead with we're different because of this, and they say it and they lead with saying it, actually end up not being that different. And I don't know if it's because they actually aren't the difference of their stereotype, or if in fact they or if it's just because my expectations are now high, right? I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that stereotype. It was really awful. I hated it. Wow, you're going to be nothing like that. I'm going to be watching and focusing on our interactions, and like anytime you start to resemble my past experience that you have no idea about, I'm going to be like, that was a total lie. That was not true. You're totally just like my previous vendor or my other vendor I had at my other company. So it's expectation setting, and I don't know. I like to set the bar proper so that I can impress.
Yeah. I think you make a good point there. It kind of goes into what I think I was trying to say, which is basically like it shows signs that they're trying to get into a like actual closing conversation too early. Like it's almost like they wrote this expecting that someone would read through this, choose one of the options, and just be like, I'm ready to go. And I feel like he could have, like you said, saved a lot of this and really just focus on what makes him special. Because I think one final thing to point out, right, is you look at these bullet points, like, yes, they're well articulated, but any brand in this person's space could describe those exact problems that exact way and make the exact claims. And I think really what makes email stick out is either you being unique in some way as a brand and kind of as an experience that can help them, or you take like a unique like take on it. You have a unique take about that topic or about that problem that they've never heard before, or maybe that gets them thinking a lot more than competing brands. And I think in this example, there's so many words here, and it's so well articulated. But why, I think, is my big question. There's too much fluff and not enough actual concrete value that I think is getting people to A, read it, and B, take action on the email.
Because you've mentioned before, this custom app development, web development space is very competitive. And getting a customer, customers that are big enough to have app development needs but not do it in-house, that's a very specific customer profile. And so so it sounds like they understand the customer's frustrations really well, but they're not very good at like the things that they're discussing should probably be demonstrated and shown more than said, I think. At least that's my impression.
Yeah, exactly. And I think overall, right, like this is actually the digital space, not just the app development. In digital, you can see where he does this in the email. He kind of goes all over the place. Websites are digital, apps are digital, internal software are digital. And I think that is something to point out is, this email is long, but this is also a very complicated industry when it comes to outreach, because you can offer 20 different solutions to solve 100 different use cases, but you really don't know what a buyer has or where a buyer's at until you talk to them. So I think this is actually a good example of when you're in a complicated industry and you have a ton of different ways you can angle to start a conversation, choose one or two. Don't present the whole landing page of your website to try to get someone to convert.
Yeah, and for people who sell services, because I was in this that space, and I don't mean software as a service. I mean as a service provider. You fall into this trap where you think the only differentiator is the experience a customer has with you, and so you stick around these things like we're easy to work with, or we don't do as many change orders, or you know what I mean. It's all these different things that are really shown that are not well written, and so you think when you send your cold emails out that if you put these things in writing, it'll have the same effect as your customers that work with you. And I think that gets lost in translation, right? I mean, that message is much better portrayed in a testimonial video or a written testimonial from a customer than it is in an outreach email. And so it's one of those ideas, and it's one of the hard things to change, is that just because it's something that you're interpreting in your brain doesn't mean it's how the reader of your email is going to interpret it. And I know that this is just a challenge for anyone that sells a service or is in a service provider type of industry, whether it's custom app development or taxes or what have you, you know. So we're going to browse over the color coding because Grayson's right. We didn't go over that, but there is a lot of sky blue. You know, my favorite pairing, sky blue and orange paired together. And you're right. You look at the pattern, it goes orange and then blue, or blue and then orange. It's always, hey, here's an assumption of what I think your problem's like or what your condition's like, and then here's us. So you can see that really easily in the color coding. Oh yeah, tons of orange at the end for your CTA. All right, so let's get into the rewrite here. Grayson, you want to take it away?
Sure, I'll take it. Awesome. So let me read just email 1 and then email 2 in succession, and then we can talk about it. Hey, Austin. Modern organizations rely on a suite of digital tools to fuel success. Yet most employees don't have extensive technical expertise. Even the best websites, applications, and softwares run into errors, which can cripple productivity for teams that don't have the dedicated technical support to quickly resolve digital issues. Brand, which would be my brand, simplifies the digital world for fast-moving brands to help keep operations running smoothly. So I'm hoping to share a few customer stories to see if it makes sense to connect about your company. Could I share some experiences from our customers via email to see if anything resonates? And then in email 2, I decided to follow through and use this guy's llama picture because it's cute, because I do agree with using this strategy in the right context. And so in email 2, I say, hey there, just following up to show this llama and sunglasses and offer a few customer perspectives of my brand. Would you be open to connecting?
Did we not show the llama? I didn't show the second email. Hang on, pause. Llama time. Okay. The previous email was like this. Hey there, just thought so after I haven't replied, threaded reply. Hey there, just thought I'd check in on my previous email one more time before I leave you alone forever. Here's a llama with sunglasses to thank you for your time. All right. And then Grayson rewrote it in thus manner. Oops.
Awesome. So
walk us through that. Like, I think there's, so let's start with the llama. We'll start with the llama just because we just went from the llama to the llama. So now we're all thinking about llamas now. What are you doing here with the llama? Because he had the llama in last and you've got the llama first.
Yeah, so I think, we talked about this earlier. Personality is great. That's how you be unique and stand out of a crowd of other sellers. We actually have a video course that we've recently launched, and an episode on this topic with Jeremy Levier is coming out soon. But the idea is like, man, if you're the type of person that thinks llama and sunglasses are cute and you think that that's going to be a way that you're going to like successfully start conversations with your buyers, use it. But if you're going to use it, make sure that it's like upfront in the email. Like don't make it hang in the back so that people open it for different reasons and then randomly see a llama. That's a little uncomfortable. Like, own it. Own the fact that you're about to send someone a llama. Make that very clear to them. And then 2, offer them something still. I think one of the mistakes that follow-up email, the original follow-up email had, is that it really kind of used the llama as the value of the email. Like, they reached out to them to reach out and follow up, and then said, oh, and here is the value you get from reading this email, a llama. Like it kind of it tied the time they spent into reading that email on the llama rather than the purpose of their email, right? Which is to generate interest and hopefully start a conversation. I think their follow-up kind of lost track of that. So what I'm trying to do is own the llama, be unique, but then immediately do what follow-ups are for, and clearly try to restate the CTA and clearly try to restate the value that I'm using to bait them and get them to start a conversation with me.
Yes. So I see this a lot with GIFs or GIFs, whatever camp you sit in, but I say GIFs, the graphical, the motiony pictures. We actually we read the first or second episode, we went over an email that was part of a sequence that included a lot of GIFs all about Michael Jordan. And the problem is that like there was a couple times where they referenced the GIF in a clever way, but a lot of times the substance of the email was the GIF. And I'm like, dude, if I want to look at GIFs, like there's so many better websites. There's Imgur and Reddit and, like that's where I go for my GIFs to get my GIF fix. I don't go into Outlook for my GIFs. So I think if you're going to, look, I 100% agree. If you are full throttle llama and sunglasses, like it should be in your email, right? If you've got that tattooed somewhere on your body, then definitely rock it in the emails. And you're right, you owned it and that was great. But you're right, the email should have a value that is more than just the silly picture or the clever GIF or whatever, So I think that's a great way to look at it. All right, now back, silliness aside, back into the rewrite of the man, what was that guy of like Drago the Destroyer or whatever from Rocky of an email. Wow. Here we go. Drago's gone on Weight Watchers. He's gotten a lot shorter. I'll go ahead and read this one. It says, "Hey Austin, modern organizations rely on a suite of digital tools to fuel success, yet most employees don't have extensive technical expertise. Even the best websites, applications, and softwares run into errors which can cripple productivity for teams that don't have the dedicated technical support to quickly resolve digital issues. Our company simplifies the digital world for fast-moving brands to help keep operations running smoothly, so I'm hoping to share a few customer stories to see if it makes sense to connect about our company." Cool. Could I share some experiences from our customers via email to see if anything resonates? Okay, 100%. First of all, yes. It's funny that I mentioned the testimonials thing earlier, but this is exactly what should be in there. Is like, hey, we do this service, or we know this problem really well. Do you have this problem? Great. Here's a couple of customer stories or use cases that demonstrates, you're showing the things you're talking about instead of just saying, hey, we're easy to work with, or we do fewer change orders, or we're not like that. Anytime you say we're not like that, you're setting yourself up for failure. Customer stories, mwah, beautiful. Bravo, I love this.
Yeah, I think one big thing to point out with this email versus the original is I do believe this would be more evergreen in the right buyer's inbox. I think with the type of email the original person sent, if he hits that magic bullet, if he catches that lightning, if he finds a bluebird opportunity with it, great. But for the most part, I feel like he's really just kind of burning bridges and just like damaging the perception of his brand in the markets that he cares about. When instead, if you can instead like don't make assumptions, don't overbearingly try to claim you can do all of these things and be completely opposite to what you think they have. Don't do that. Just describe a problem in a way that if the right buyer reads it, whether it be once, twice, 6 months from now, it's got a chance to at least motivate action. And that's what I tried to do here is, like with many emails, I focused on one topic, tried to really hone it in and be as clear as possible. I opened it up and said even the best websites, applications, softwares, try to give some surface area for what I have expertise in. but I was very clear in what I was trying to talk about. And I think that's the big night and day difference between this email and the other email. Is this one is focused on one issue and trying to be as evergreen as possible for the right type of buyers, because this will always resonate with a qualified buyer. Whereas the email above might just piss them off because they're just rereading the way that you talk and all the assumptions you make, and they're like, I just don't trust this person. Whereas they're going to read this email, even if they're not in market, which in reality, in the services space, that's a thing that you have to keep in mind. There are long sales cycles, and sometimes they're just long buying cycles where it's like, it doesn't matter what you do. It just like the company doesn't need it. The buyer doesn't need it for 6 to 12 months. So bide your time. And so when you write emails that are shorter, more consolidated, and don't use as many assumptions, you can kind of have this essence of it almost being like a permanent ad in their inbox. And if you win their heart, to at the very least, you don't get marked as spam or immediately deleted. Well, then guess what? That email is memorable. They'll read your additional emails that you send because you're actually a trusted member of their inbox rather than an annoying seller. You're giving them value. You're giving them something to think about. And then, like I said, you send an email sequence with multiple emails that are done in this way, each on a specific topic. That is slowly over time not only going to build rapport and trust with that buyer, but it just gives them evergreen information about you, their problems, and their brand. And that's the wonderful cycle, I think, about cold email is when people start to trust you, or at least think that you're not wasting their time, they'll read your emails. They'll respond and tell you that they're not in market. And I think that, like, don't waste those chances with 98% of the market trying to get like the 2% by throwing everything at it and trying to just make as many assumptions as possible. It's okay to step back and just try to plant seeds and try to get people thinking. And I think if this person would have just taken a little more, I would say, just defined approach, and I think just really kind of focused on what do I want to say about me, what topic do I want to talk about, and what do I want to assume about the buyer, and really thought about those three, the email itself would end up smaller.
Yeah, and you make a lot of really good points, and it's really important for SDRs and salespeople, especially if you're a full cycle AE where you're not just fed by SDR appointments or inbound leads. You have to understand, if you're in a B2B capacity especially, because that's something that I've recognized, having worked in this restaurant technology space, is that, and really a lot of of industries, but it's a small community. And when you look at how you treat the community or how you're perceived in the community, if you to make a callback to an SD Revolution podcast with I can't remember her last name, but with Nikki, she talked about your personal brand. Who was that?
Nikki Ivy. Yeah, she's like a personal branding. Yeah, she's so wise.
Yeah. So this idea that you have a personal brand, whether or not you want one, you have one, and you're in control of it. It's whether or not you're in control of it, right? You have your own personal brand to your market of buyers, and if you go and spray and pray with stuff, then you're gonna get that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna ruin your personal brand. Whereas if you write good emails that are that are customized, I've received replies before of an email saying, "Hey, just want to say that's been one of the best emails I've received. I'm not interested in setting up a meeting because it's not gonna be worth my time or whatever. But props the email, right? Just giving props. I mean, I'm obviously paraphrasing. It's not word for word what they said, but." You're going to, and that builds your brand. Like, the next time they need something, they could come back to you. Or the next time you reach out, it's probably not going to get insta-deleted, and you're not going to get blocked. Like, I used to block people when they would send a really bad first prospecting email. Right-click, block. And I don't do that anymore because I really like reading prospecting emails. But way back in the day, that's what I used to do. We actually just talked to a prospect 2 weeks ago, and he had blocked our email domain because of a prospecting email that he was like, oh, he got too many prospecting emails too soon, apparently. This was years ago. And yeah, he had blocked our domain. So nobody from our company could reach out to that guy.
It happens.
Be very
That's
careful
why,
if you're selling to IT people. They can block your entire domain. Gone.
Awesome. I think we're at the top of the hour here. So thanks to
Okay.
everyone who joined us for today's live sales email review and rewrite. Make sure to follow us or subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can join us on our Slack group. You can join us on Facebook or LinkedIn, or you can go to our website at sdrevolution.com and join our community. And you can get updates on the content we make, like this one.
Yeah, the Slack channel's fire. Jump in there. Grace and I will both be in there. And we will see you next week, right? I'm not going to be wrong about this. Are we next Monday? It's actually no holidays coming up. Okay, next Monday, 11:30 Eastern Time. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.